Peat soil is an organic soil type formed from partial decomposition of plant material that has been waterlogged and accumulated over tens of thousands of years. Peatland is a crucial ecosystem for carbon storage, water regulation, and as a habitat for various flora and fauna. The widespread drainage of peatlands for agricultural and other uses has led to increased greenhouse gas, GHG emissions. GHG emission inventories are essential for evaluating the success of mitigation efforts as part of the Nationally Determined Contribution, NDC, under the Paris Agreement. However, due to the dynamic and diverse nature of peatlands, GHG inventory carries a high degree of uncertainty. To reduce these uncertainties, intensive field measurements of GHG emissions are required over extended periods, for at least 1 year. The Soil and Fertilizer Standard Testing Institute, BPSI Tanah dan Pupuk, in collaboration with World Agroforestry, ICRAF, and the National Research and Innovation Agency, has conducted the project, Improving the Management of Peat and the Capacities of Stakeholders in Indonesia, Peat-IMPACTS Indonesia. This project encompasses research on GHG inventory and mitigation in peatlands, capacity building, dissemination, and outreach. More specifically, this project conducted research, training, writing of GHG inventory guidelines, writing of leaflets, seminars, publications. Research activities focused on evaluating the effects of land use on CO2 emissions, groundwater table dynamics, and peat subsidence. Training is provided on GHG inventory methods for peat decomposition and fires, as well as approaches to reducing GHG emissions. The project has developed GHG emission inventory guidelines for Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 levels. Producing leaflets on sustainable peatland management. Dissemination and outreach take the form of seminars, workshops, and scientific publications in international journals. This research was conducted in 2 provinces, particularly in 2 districts prone to peat fires. 1. Ogan Kemaring Ilir District, South Sumatra Province. 2. Kubu Raya District, West Kalimantan Province. The research began with site selection, conducted through field visits and stakeholder discussions in various locations. The site survey identified several types of land cover to be studied. The next step was peat soil characterization. Selected land cover types include forests, shrubs, oil palm plantations, rubber plantations, and intercropped pineapple rubber systems. CO2 emissions are measured using infrared gas chromatography, IRGA. CO2 concentrations released through a closed chamber were analyzed with IRGA to determine the emission rate. Research findings in both locations demonstrated that 1. Annual emissions in forested areas are lower than in plantations, primarily because groundwater levels in forests are shallower than in plantations. 2. Despite no drainage, groundwater levels in forests can drop below 100 cm during prolonged droughts. 3. CO2 flux generally increases as groundwater levels deepen, as evidenced by both field and controlled tube experiments. Peat subsidence was monitored using subsidence sticks. Alongside peat subsidence measurement, we also monitored peat carbon stock using mass balance approaches over time. These observations allow us to estimate surface subsidence, as well as carbon loss. Peat subsidence monitoring has been conducted at Peat-IMPACTS research sites and previous research sites since 2012. Findings indicate that peat subsidence due to drainage ranges from 1 to 4 cm per year. About 60% of peat subsidence is due to carbon loss from decomposition, while the remaining 40% results from compaction and consolidation. These numbers are crucial for estimating CO2 emissions based on subsidence data. Under extreme drought conditions, peat fires cause massive subsidence. In 2014, peat fires in Pulang Pisau District, Central Kalimantan, caused a 28 cm subsidence in shrublands. Preventive measures are essential to avoid recurring peat fires. Peatlands can retain water up to 13 times their dry weight, but they also release moisture easily, causing them to dry quickly. Hydrological research is needed to assess peatland fire vulnerability. Dry peat is highly flammable. Fire-prone peatlands are often abandoned lands, such as shrublands. Therefore, it is crucial to rehabilitate degraded peatlands, particularly fire-prone shrublands, to reduce GHG emissions. The primary strategy for peatland conservation is maintaining shallow groundwater levels while ensuring agricultural productivity. Possible approaches include construction of canal blocks, planting water-tolerant crops such as sago or jalutong in a poluticulture system. Poluticulture is peatland farming without drainage. Restoring peatlands with fast-growing trees, such as jalutong. Peat-IMPACTS, researchers also studied soil microbial diversity. We found that forest soils have the highest microbial diversity, while cultivated areas show reduced microbial diversity. Besides research, Peat-IMPACTS has conducted training on GHG inventory methods for land use change, peat decomposition, and peat fire emissions. Additionally, GHG inventory guidelines for peat decomposition and peat fires have been developed. Leaflets on peatland management and a draft Indonesian National Standard (SNI) for peatland management in oil palm plantations have also been produced. The Peat-IMPACTS team aims to contribute positively to peatland management improvements, enhanced GHG inventory methodologies, and sustainable peatland management, benefiting both the environment and the economy.